Hey guys, Sam here, and welcome to another SportsCenter review. Last time I looked at Ill Suited, an episode from Kim Possible. I liked it. I thought it was funny, cool, and all that jazz. So, what's next? What is another show that has a sports episode? Well, a couple of my most popular videos on this channel have involved Jimmy Neutron. Did that show have a sports episode? Yes, it did. Retroville 9. That's right, even Jimmy Neutron got a sports episode, and it revolved around my favorite sport, baseball. But if you know the show, you know it's not going to be your typical sports episode. Mostly, but we'll get to it in a moment. For now, you know the drill. Summary first, thoughts after, plus some fun facts, and a few silly jokes. Good. Let's begin. It starts with Jimmy and his friends playing a game of baseball against another team led by Butch, who are absolutely crushing them. Not only is the score 29-0, but Jimmy's friends are begging him to just end it already, despite still being in the first inning. Jimmy doesn't quit, however, and keeps playing. This leads to Butch hitting the ball to Carl, which hits him, and Butch is able to go around the bases like it's nothing. Even he begs for the game to end because his team is tired of running around the bases so much. Once it's over, Butch calls Jimmy's friends losers. They accept it and are ready to give up on baseball for good. But Jimmy stands up for them and demands a rematch, which Butch accepts. Despite his friends thinking he's gone insane, Jimmy plans to show them that they aren't losers. So he heads to the lab and has science put the techniques used by famous baseball players into the baseball equipment. This makes the gear all neutronized, complete with black coating, neon red lighting, and his logo. He brings the equipment to the next game and his team faces Butch's team again. How does it go? Remarkably well, actually. Basically, the new equipment just makes the plays for them. Diving catches, leaping catches, and hitting home runs out of sight. Until they land in Hugh Neutron's lawn. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a moment. When it's all said and done, they finally beat Butch's team. But it doesn't stop there. Not only does every player on Jimmy's team get adjusted to the equipment and can use it like it's nothing, but they keep winning game after game by huge margins. For 6 weeks. Jimmy's team is now unbeatable, and they are more confident than ever. Looks like things are good, right? Wrong. This is when the cracks begin to show. When Cindy introduces a bat that was autographed by a famous player, Jimmy jumps in and says they can't use it. The equipment they've used has led to their good luck streak, and they don't want to jinx it now. Later, the school principal announces that Jimmy's team is so good that they are going to play for the Junior Baseball World Championship in Japan. This is when Jimmy starts feeling guilty, mainly because they have been, well, cheating with the new equipment. In fact, he almost tells them the truth right then and there. But after Jimmy's friends tell him that they don't feel like losers anymore, and that they wouldn't have gotten to this point without him, he keeps it to himself. So they go off to Japan. They get their own uniforms, they're about to play in this large baseball stadium, and the most famous baseball player, Tremendous Jackson, is there too. This is when the cracks get bigger. Not only is Jimmy more nervous than ever that his team is going to get caught cheating, but he starts to become a jerk by refusing to use other equipment, even some that was given to Cindy from her family. But once Tremendous Jackson makes a big speech about how the teams have gotten here because of their hard work and not through any shortcuts, the cracks are too much to handle for Jimmy. He has to tell them the truth. So he calls his team over and does exactly that. Not that they know, they don't believe they can beat their opponent. But after Jimmy gives them the classic sports speech, they are inspired and get out there! Only to lose in embarrassing fashion. It's so embarrassing that even Jackson can't look him in the eye. So what do they do now? Well, since they are in Japan, they take advantage of it by going to see one of the star attractions, Bonzilla. Earlier in the episode, Sheen said it was his dream to go to Japan so he can finally meet Bonzilla. But when he does meet him, he's disappointed, mainly because he's pretty small. But when Sheen starts to insult it, he gets blasted with fire. And the episode ends with Sheen asking Jimmy what the Japanese word for ambulance is, before passing out. The end. So that's the episode. What are my thoughts? Well, like Ill Suited, this episode's main goal is to make you laugh. And it does exactly that. Now, I'll admit it, as funny as the Kim Possible episode can be, this one not only made me laugh more, but much, much harder. Maybe it's because I'm more familiar with Jimmy Neutron than Kim Possible, but even if I wasn't, I would still find this to be funny as hell. It's got memorable lines.
Ball 3! Ball! That was right down the middle! I've seen better calls than a square dance!
Jimmy's throwing lollipops! The day he throws down Broadway is the day I dance on the moon!
cool baseball references.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest boy on the face of the earth.
Sheen being Sheen?
This stuff's been lucky for us. Changing now might jinx us.
Jimmy's right. That's why I've been wearing the same underwear for the past 6 weeks.
Ew.
Carl being Carl.
For once and probably the only time in my life, I'm a winner. See how new it is?
And the running gags. My favorite one was when Jimmy's dad got pelted with baseballs constantly. Yeah, I know I'm a sick bastard, but it's funny. Now, the slapstick is funny enough already, but when the gag adds the "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" instrumental in the background... it knocks me out every time. There are some other running gags that are funny too, like the one with Butch eating his own hat. Literally. You know how some people say, if you do this, I'll eat my hat, but they won't really do it even if it happens? Well, Butch is a boy of his word. When Jimmy gets a hit off of him, he actually takes a bite out of his hat. And not only does he enjoy it, but he continues to do it after he gives up more hits. You see, jokes like that are why Jimmy Neutron is one of a kind. But to be very honest, as funny as that stuff is, the absolute funniest moment comes when the gang goes to Japan. Now, I'm not talking about the Bonzilla stuff or the absolutely embarrassing final score. That's funny too, but I'm talking about the moment when Sheen meets Tremendous Jackson. The episode builds this guy up as the most famous baseball player in this universe. He has a cool voice, a unique look, and is a firm believer in baseball teams becoming great through hard work and practice. But when he meets Sheen, we actually learn more about him. At first, you're thinking this interaction will be what you expect. Sheen acts like Sheen by giving Jackson this question. If Ultra Lord was a baseball pitcher, do you think you could hit a home run off of him? Now, most comedic scenes like this would have the famous player be weirded out and make up some answer on the spot just to shut him up. The standard stuff, you know? But instead, they do this.
Well, if he uses retro blast powers and proton ball like he did in Ultra Lord versus the Gravity Suckers, it'd be pretty hard.
Be honest, you weren't expecting that, were you? Tremendous Jackson is an Ultra Lord fan. Now, the answer is funny enough, but look at Sheen's face. He is absolutely blown away. That reaction makes me laugh every time I see it. Now, there are more jokes in this episode, but I don't want to spoil them all for you, so let's talk about the rest of the episode. I do like that Jimmy stands up for his friends in the beginning, and I understand why he did what he did with the baseball equipment. He wanted his friends to feel good about themselves instead of thinking they're losers. But at the same time, he hated the losing too, so much so that he was willing to juice up their equipment so they made every play for them. And unlike other times, his experiment doesn't cause another end-of-the-world scenario. It's just a small experiment for a small episode. It's only 11 minutes instead of being 22 minutes. And honestly, that's alright. We don't need to have something big all the time. If that was the case, the show would get boring and predictable. And those are adjectives I can never use to describe this show, nor this episode. Like I said, it is mostly not your typical sports episode. Keyword being mostly. The jokes are fresh, the science is fresh, and the running gags are too. But there are some things that hold this episode back from being perfect in my eyes. Now, it's not because of Jimmy being a jerk or keeping the truth to himself. That liar-revealed story thread is done to death. But that doesn't bother me too much. I can understand why Jimmy did it and why he later feels guilty. Cheating in backyard baseball games near school grounds is one thing, but potentially cheating in a baseball tournament in Japan in front of thousands and thousands of people? Doing that would get you crucified. You could see that Jimmy did feel guilty about it and he wanted to come clean, but because everyone else credited him for helping them feel better about themselves, he keeps the truth hidden. Until he can't. Now, I don't have a problem with Jimmy telling them the truth and then inspiring them later with the classic sports speech. That's honestly fine to me too. The nitpick I have is the kind of forced dialogue that makes Jimmy crack.
They're here because of their hard work and patience and long hours of practice. Not because of any high-tech gloves or automatic home run hitting bats. Those things would make us all sick and ashamed.
Yeah, that line could have been written better. Instead of making it specifically for Jimmy, make it so that everyone truly gets it. He could have said, they are here because of their hard work, patience, and long hours of practice. Not because they took shortcuts or other means so they could have a slight edge. That kind of stuff would make us feel sick and ashamed. Maybe a little on the nose, but not as on the nose as the other line. Plus, I think it still would have done its job. It would have still made Jimmy feel more guilty and make him tell his friends the truth anyway. I know the show is made for kids, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it needed to be that specific and obvious. Are there any other problems? Well, just one more. As fun as it was watching Libby, Cindy, Sheen, and the rest make all those fine plays for the equipment, I have to ask, how did they not realize Jimmy did something to them? They are literally forcing them to jump in the air to catch the ball and hit the ball with expert accuracy. I mean, I can understand Carl and Sheen not catching on that quickly, but Libby and Cindy especially? I think they should have been more skeptical. The episode came out in season 2, so they know about the other inventions Jimmy has made. Don't you think they would have asked some questions about this at some point? I don't know, that kind of bothered me a little. I'll just chalk it up as another nitpick. But honestly, that's it. 2 nitpicks, and they don't really damage the episode. The rest of it is still fun and funny. It may have an obvious lesson here, but it's not a bad one. Maybe if the players on the Astros watched this episode, they probably wouldn't have done the trash can banging stuff. Yes, I know, those jokes have been beaten to the ground, but I had to get one in there. Bottom line, I do enjoy Retroville 9. The baseball stuff was cool, the jokes were funny, the running gags were great, it is quotable as hell, it has solid references that I enjoy especially, and if I had to choose which one was funnier, Ill-Suited or Retroville 9, I'd have to go with Retroville 9. I still enjoy Ill-Suited, it has good jokes, and it does have that Kim and Ron relationship stuff, which does make it more relatable and sweeter. But Retroville 9 has the funnier stuff and is more memorable to me. The final score I gave to Ill-Suited was a 7.5 out of 10. What's my final score for Retroville 9? Well, for all the reasons I mentioned, I will give it an 8.5 out of 10. I do highly recommend both episodes. They are both fun and very funny. Simple as that. Okay, let's get to the fun facts. Number 1, this was the first episode to introduce one of the show's running gags. My scapula!
Ah! Whoa! And it's coming right at me!
Ow, my scapula!
Number 2, when Carl says that luckiest boy on the face of the earth line, whether you are a Yankees fan, or a baseball fan, or not even a sports fan at all, you all know where that came from.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Number 3, the baseball players whose skills Jimmy downloaded into the gloves and bats were Babe Ruth, Mark McGwire, and Barry Bonds. Coincidentally, the latter 2 were later revealed to be cheaters as well. Is it really a coincidence or a self-fulfilling prophecy? I'm gonna go with the latter. Number 4, the Japanese word for ambulance is kyukyusa. I'm sure I butchered that, I'm sorry. And number 5, the name of the Japanese baseball stadium on the scoreboard is, and I'm not making this up, Let's Play Happy Fun Ball Stadium. Yes, the proper name for a stadium that also hosted the super dedicated work team. Look, I know you don't want to use copyrighted names, but you could have called them something else, like the Pirates or the Unions. They are teams that no longer exist in the Nippon Professional Baseball League. Yep, this was a triple fact in one. Alright, let's get to the silly jokes.
People, we can't quit now! It's only the first inning!
And Butch's team is beating us 29-0.
That's not as bad as when the Rangers did this to the Orioles. Yep, one of the most embarrassing moments in Orioles history. And that also includes their recent documentary. Okay, yeah, you won the division and won over 100 games, great. How many games did you win in the playoffs? None. We are now in 2024, guys. You better bring it this year because the Yanks are coming. And now this joke is dated. And dragging. Sorry. Next.
My old baseball coach used to say to me, "Hey kid, you stink on ice. Go home and play with your ducks." Oh yes, those were the days. We had crazy nicknames back then. They used to call me "Get Lost," or "We Hate You."
Better than being called a piece of shit. Oh yeah, some parent in the stands called me that when I pitched in the game one time. Look, we know you are suffering through your midlife crises, guys, but don't ruin it for the rest of us. Let the kids play.
Boy, I love this sushi stuff, whatever it is.
Well, those were sea urchin eggs.
Just be glad you're not playing in Colorado, Cindy. They give fans Rocky Mountain oysters, aka fried bull testicles.
Testicles?
And with that, I'll end this video right now so you can head off to the bathroom to puke. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of Retroville 9, Ill-Suited, and which one you like more. Thank you for watching, and as always, my name is Sam, and good night, everybody.